I hit it.
You saw it fly off.
Red day.
The sun scorched the Nevada desert, a relentless blaze that turned the air into a shimmering haze. At the edge of Camp Ironwood, a remote military outpost nestled between jagged hills and endless sand, Master Sergeant Clara Hensley stood poised behind a sandbag barrier. Her M107 sniper rifle rested steady, its barrel glinting faintly under the noon light. Clara's face was a mask of calm, her eyes fixed on a speck moving against the cloudless sky, a drone, small but deliberate, circling the base like a hawk over prey. It wasn't one of theirs. The low hum gave it away, a foreign model, likely hostile, weaving lazy arcs above the Humvees and supply tents. For 3 days, it had appeared at the same hour, always just out of reach, taunting the soldiers below. Clara's squad mates laughed. "She's at it again," Private Tommy Walsh muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "Thinks she's going to shoot that thing down with a rifle." Corporal Eddie Monroe chuckled, his boots propped on a crate. "Clara's living in a Hollywood flick. Next, she'll be lassoing jets." The group snickered, but Clara didn't flinch. Her fingers adjusted the scope, calculating wind speed and the drone's trajectory. 200 yards up, 25 miles per hour, a faint eastward drift. She'd run the numbers 100 times in her head, faster than most could punch them into a computer. The drone dipped slightly, as if mocking her focus, and she exhaled slowly, her breath steady as stone. Clara wasn't thinking about the rules of engagement, which forbade firing without a direct threat or explicit orders. She was thinking about patterns. This drone wasn't just scouting, it was studying, mapping, maybe even targeting. She'd seen it linger over the fuel depot, its lens catching the sun like a predator's eye. The others didn't notice or didn't care. To them, it was just a buzzing nuisance, not worth the paperwork. But Clara knew better. She'd learned long ago that waiting for permission could cost lives. Behind her, the laughter grew louder. "Hey, Hensley," Walsh called. "You planning to snipe the moon next?" She ignored him, her cheek pressed against the rifle's stock. Her father's voice echoed in her mind, steady as ever. "The bullet follows the math, Clara. Trust the numbers." She flicked off the safety with a soft click. The chatter stopped. "Wait, she's not serious, is she?" Monroe whispered. Clara's world narrowed to the crosshairs and the drone's metallic glint. She squeezed the trigger. The M107 roared, a thunderclap that shook the outpost. The recoil slammed her shoulder, dust exploding from the sandbags. Birds scattered from distant rocks, and the echo rolled across the desert. Through the scope, Clara saw the drone twitch a subtle wobble, a hiccup in its flight. Then it steadied and buzzed onward, vanishing into the horizon. Silence hung for a heartbeat, then the laughter erupted. "You missed by a mile, Hensley," Walsh howled, clutching his sides. "Wasted a 50 cal round on a daydream." Monroe joined in, clapping sarcastically. "Nice try, sharpshooter. Stick to inventory." Clara didn't respond. She picked up the spent casing, warm and heavy, and slipped it into her pocket. Slinging the rifle over her shoulder, she met Walsh's grin with a steady gaze. "I hit it," she said simply. He blinked, his smirk faltering. "You what?" "I hit it," she repeated, walking past them toward the barracks. "Sure you did," Monroe called after her, but his tone lacked conviction. Clara didn't need their belief. She'd felt the shot, seen the drone stutter. It wasn't a kill, but it was a wound. And in war, a wound could be enough. Clara Hensley grew up in the flat, dusty plains of West Texas, where the horizon stretched unbroken and the only sounds were the creak of windmills and the lowing of cattle. Her father, Jim Hensley, was a Vietnam vet, a man of few words whose limp from an old shrapnel wound never slowed him down. He'd taught Clara to shoot when she was 8, setting up tin cans on a weathered fence. "Breathe steady," he'd said, adjusting her grip on a .22 rifle. The bullet's just math in motion. She missed her first dozen shots, tears of frustration streaking her face. Jim sat beside her in the dirt, handing her a bandana. "It's not your hands, Clara. It's your head. Think the shot through." By 10, she was knocking cans off at 50 yards. By 16, she was out shooting grown men at county fairs, her name whispered with a mix of awe and envy. Boys called her cold, mechanical. She didn't care. She wasn't chasing praise, she was chasing precision. After high school, while her classmates headed to college or dead-end jobs, Clara walked into an Army recruitment office in Lubbock. The recruiter raised an eyebrow at her slight frame. "You sure you're not better suited for admin?" he asked. "I'm sure," she replied. Basic training tested her limits. Her arms shook on obstacle courses, and she collapsed during a desert march, dehydrated but unyielding. The other recruits mocked her, betting she'd wash out. Then came rifle qualification. Clara hit 38 out of 40 targets, some at odd angles, some in swirling dust. Her instructor double-checked the score, half convinced she'd cheated. She hadn't. The Army didn't make her a sniper. Politics and lack of combat experience kept her out of elite units, but Clara trained relentlessly, volunteering for every range drill, studying ballistics like scripture. Assigned to logistics, she organized supply chains with the same precision she brought to shooting. At every base, she scouted the terrain, mapped sight lines, and kept her rifle close. She didn't trust systems to save lives. She trusted herself. At Camp Ironwood, Clara's reputation was a mix of respect and ridicule. Some admired her focus. Others thought her odd, too quiet, too intense. She didn't join poker games or swap stories over MREs. But those who'd seen her shoot prone in seconds, breath still as death never forgot it. "Hensley doesn't just aim," a lieutenant once said. "She makes the world stop moving until she's ready." The drone had haunted Clara for days. Its predictable noon passes, each one lower and tighter, set her nerves on edge. She'd seen recon patterns like this in training briefings, drones feeding coordinates to artillery teams miles away. By the time anyone noticed, shells were already falling. She'd filed 2 reports, noting the drone's altitude, speed, and path. No response. Command dismissed it as routine, non-hostile. Clara wasn't an intel. Her job was moving crates, not calling shots. Still, she watched. At night, she sketched the drone's orbits, timing its lapse to the second. On the 3rd day, she climbed a guard tower with an old infrared scope, spotting faint glints on a distant ridge. Binoculars or rangefinders, maybe. Not stars. By morning, her eyes burned from lack of sleep, but her rifle was spotless. At 11:55 a.m., the drone returned, its whine cutting through the heat. Clara was ready. She hauled her M107 to the tower, ignoring the curious glances below. The drone was lower now, close enough to see its seams. She radioed command, "Sergeant Hensley, requesting eyes on possible recon threat, Sector 7 Delta." The response was static, then a bored voice. "Noted, Hensley." No action. "Return to post." She didn't move. The drone tilted slightly, its lens catching her position. Her pulse didn't jump. It never did. Below, Walsh and Monroe traded jabs. "She's got a crush on that drone," Walsh said, grinning. "Gonna propose with a bullet." Clara tuned them out. The drone passed again, slower, lower. She ran the numbers: wind, distance, velocity. Her finger brushed the trigger. No orders, no clearance, just instinct. She exhaled. The shot split the sky. The M107's roar froze the base. Dust billowed, and the drone wobbled, its nose dipping before it corrected and flew on. Clara held her scope, tracking its path. It was pulling away, but its arc was off, erratic. She lowered the rifle, the casing clinking against the sandbags. The laughter came fast. "Hensley's out here playing Top Gun," Monroe shouted. "That drone's laughing harder than we are." Clara packed her gear, her face unreadable. "I hit it," she told Walsh as she descended the tower. He scoffed. "You saw it fly off, right?" She nodded. "I saw it flinch." Monroe rolled his eyes. "FL-inch. What? You think you nicked its feelings?" Clara walked away, the casing heavy in her pocket. She didn't need their approval. She'd done the math. In the command tent, Private First Class Nate Carter stared at his radar screen, nursing a lukewarm coffee. The drone, tagged Bravo 9, had been a routine blip for days. Same path, same time, non-hostile. But now, its green dot was gone. Carter blinked, zooming in. The drone had plummeted, a sharp dive starting at 11 hours 59 minutes and 9 seconds, for seconds after a logged gunshot from the tower. He cross-checked the report. Single .50 cal round discharged, Sergeant Clara Hensley, no authorization. Carter's pulse quickened. He printed the radar strip and hurried to Lieutenant Danvers, a no-nonsense officer with a permanent frown. Sir, Bravo 9 dropped off radar, Carter said, handing over the data. Sharp descent, no recovery. Matches Hensley's shot. Danvers studied the printout, his jaw tight. Could be a glitch, he said. Or not. He sighed. Log it. Send it up. Quietly. The report climbed the chain, reaching Central Recon. Analysts reviewed the drone's black box, recovered from a crash site in a dry gully 10 miles out. The data showed a sudden destabilization, a small, precise puncture in the airframe, compromising its gyro. No explosion, just a fall. The damage matched a .50 caliber round. No one called Clara. No one announced it. But the whispers started. The next day, the base felt different. The jokes about Clara's shot were quieter, less certain. Walsh avoided her gaze at breakfast, and Monroe's usual smirk was gone. During the evening briefing, the company commander cleared his throat. The unidentified drone experienced technical failure and is no longer active, he said. A few soldiers glanced at Clara. She sat still, hands folded, eyes forward. After the briefing, Captain Jack Thornton, a grizzled officer with a reputation for bluntness, approached her. Hensley, he said, you still got that rifle? Yes, sir, she replied. Good. You're on Overwatch tomorrow, Tower Delta. Log all aerial patterns. Specs incoming. He paused, lowering his voice. Nice shot. Even if no one's ready to admit it. Clara nodded, a flicker of a smile crossing her face. It wasn't victory, but it was enough. Days later, Clara was summoned to Thornton's office. The room was stark, a single folder on the desk holding a grainy image of the drone's wreckage, a clean .50 caliber hole in its undercarriage. Recovered yesterday, Thornton said. Confirmed ballistic strike. You made it happen. Clara stayed silent. He leaned forward. Problem is, this wasn't supposed to be possible. Ground fire doesn't take down drones at that range. You've got questions circling now. Why no air support? Why no radar alert? It's messy. Understood, sir, Clara said. Thornton slid the folder to her. This is a commendation for situational awareness. No mention of the drone. Keep it quiet. He pulled out a black binder labeled Classified, Adaptive Marksman Program. We need people like you. Instinct over protocol, math over machines. You in? Clara didn't hesitate. Yes, sir. Clara's reassignment took her across desert outposts, training marksmen to see patterns, trust instincts, and act when orders failed. She spoke little, her corrections sharp and precise. A tilt of a barrel, a shift in stance. The drone story followed her, whispered over MREs and cleaning benches. Some called it luck, others a fluke, but no one doubted her aim anymore. Back in Texas years later, Clara settled in a small town outside Abilene. She worked at a veterans center, taught shooting at a local range, and occasionally joined fire watch crews in the summer. Her commendation stayed folded in a lockbox, untouched. Her rifle, though, was always pristine, ready. Kids at the diner whispered her name, pointing. That's the woman who shot the drone. She'd sip her coffee, pretending not to hear. One evening, a shy teenager approached her at the range, clutching a rifle. My dad says you did something big overseas, she said. Clara adjusted the girl's scope, her hands steady. If you're good, people talk for you, she said. Focus on the target, not the noise. The girl nodded, then hit her first bullseye. Clara's advice lingered, don't flinch. The bullet knows where to go. Clara's story spread, not in headlines, but in quiet moments, letters from soldiers she'd trained, nods from veterans who'd heard her name. She didn't chase fame or medals. She'd shot for the outcome, not the applause. The drone had fallen, the radar had confirmed it, and the world had shifted, just a little, because Clara Hensley had trusted her math. On her porch one night, under a sky pierced with stars, Clara sat with her coffee, the desert stretching before her. The air was cool, the silence deep. She didn't need the world to know her name. The bullet had spoken, and that was enough.